Our next speaker, Barry Tickus, is an agricultural extension agent in Yuma County, Arizona, responsible for research in weed control and herbicide use in all crops grown in the region. Today, he's going to speak to us about residual herbicide in the soils of the lower desert region.
I know it's late, and I'm going to try and go through this as rapidly as I can. As Robert said, I'm going to talk about soil persistence of the herbicides that we use here. Unlike insecticides that John just talked about, or fungicides that Stephanie's going to talk about, farmers really don't like to put herbicides in the ground. We're killing plants with herbicides, not insects or diseases. Having a persistent herbicide in the soil reduces their flexibility to plant just about any crop at any time, and that can happen just about anywhere down here in the desert. I'm not advancing here for some reason. There we go. I'm going to skip these next few slides for the interest of time. Basically, what I wanted to do was say that weeds keep germinating. Weed seeds survive that way. Some will come up tomorrow, some won't come up for 10 years. That's how they survive. If they'd all come up at once, we could kill them and be done with them. But they're going to come up repeatedly through the season, every time we put water on the field. It really helps to have a persistent herbicide. The problem is, as I'm going to describe, we want it to persist for a certain period of time and not beyond that. We probably spend, myself and Marco Pena, who works together with me, probably spend as much or not, if not more of our time working on crop injury, soil persistence of new herbicides, even old ones, as we do efficacy. Over the years, we've worked with pretty much all of the herbicides that we're currently using. We put our results on how long these things last into a table. And it's 2 pages, and I'll send it to anybody that wants it. I'll put it in our next vegetable IPM updates so that you can all have it. And you'll notice I have a column for the label restrictions and then likely. Almost every label has pre-harvest intervals or pre-plant intervals that are longer than they need to be. This is for a couple reasons. These labels are not written just for one area. They're written for a wide geographic region. And it would be foolish to make the label restriction shorter and have litigation and be killing people's crops if it was too short. So we put this in a table, and this is probably all that you need today, is me to give you this table. But I'm going to try and use the rest of my time to explain why some of these herbicides persist for 0 days. They basically don't persist at all, and why some of them persist for 2 years or more. In this slide, the weed control you're seeing is from one application that was made before. Actually, some of the treatments were put on before planting and some right after planting, and they lasted all season long. So the utility of a pre-emergent herbicide with persistence is really good. The problem is if it persists too long. Now, in this field, this was prep land that was put on, and then they planted Sudan grass. Well, we don't like to see this. Unfortunately, we don't see it hardly ever this bad, but we do see occasionally, actually more than occasionally, some effect of herbicides that were previously applied. Why? Well, let me talk about why this is. There's basically three factors that affect the residual of these herbicides: the soil, the environment, and herbicide chemistry. And I'm going to talk about factors that have been talked about all day long by people that are much better equipped to talk about them than myself. But let me try and talk about each one of these. First, the effect of texture. And as you know, and I'm sure people have talked about it all day long, that there's the soil is made up of minerals or which can be just about anything. It's eroded rock that has eroded for over a long period of time. Then there's organic matter, which is decomposed plant and animal tissue. Then there's the pore spaces for water and air. And the percentage of each one of these, sand, silt, and clay, you've all seen this chart, makes up the soil texture. Herbicides basically, and I think you all know this, persist longer in fine textured soils for a couple reasons. Fine textured soils has about 1,000 times more surface area for the herbicide to stick to than do coarse soils, sandy soils. And there's a stronger bond between the herbicide and the and clay particles. There is the electrical charge of the finer textured soils is fairly important. So not only is there more surface area, but the electrical attraction between the herbicide and the soil is greater. In general, the bottom line is herbicides persist longer on fine textured clay soils and they're shorter on sand. Organic matter. And as I previously said, the organic matter is plant and animal matter that's in various stages of decomposition. Soils here are a lot of people refer to them as alkaline or mineral soils because they're largely made up of minerals, and we have very, very little organic matter, less than 1%. That 1% can temporarily go up after a crop is harvested when you have plant residues or people make additions like manure. What soil organic matter does is it increases the absorptive capacity of the herbicides. It's negatively charged and it attracts the herbicides, and that is even more important, more effective from organic matter than it is finer textured clay soils. pH is something we hear about a lot. It affects a lot of things with crop production. The major one is probably nutrients, but it also has a great effect on herbicide persistence as well. And the pH is the result of many factors, mainly parent material and rainfall. People, when we have a high pH, is what we have on almost all of our soils here. You'll hear people say they're alkaline, and low pH is acidic. Most of the soils here in Arizona are alkaline. Now, I can't just say in general, even though I just did, that all herbicides persist longer in high pH soils. Some do. Mainly the triazines and the sulfonylureas, and I've listed those right here on your left. And some persist longer on low pH soils. And these are mainly the imidazolinones, Pursuit, Raptor, Image, Habitat, or Plateau. When we first got Pursuit registered, people didn't think we'd be able to use it here at all because it persists, especially in Imperial Valley where people plant sugar beets. You can't plant the label, I think, to sugar beets from a Pursuit application is like 4 or 5 years. And here it's gone pretty much in 1 year. Herbicide properties is the last thing I wanted to talk about that affects the last soil characteristic, or the last thing I wanted to talk about this morning that affects persistence. One is water solubility. How well does it mix with water? And if it mixes well with water, it's likely to be able to run off or leach. Vapor pressure, or how volatile it is, how much it's likely to change from a liquid or solid to a gas. And that happens every year. We see problems with liftoff of gold, for instance. Adsorption is very important, even more important than water solubility. And this is basically how strongly does it stick to the soil. Microbial and chemical reactions are very important. The microbes present break down the herbicides, and also chemical reactions like hydrolysis. Treflan is a good example where water ponds, it'll break down Treflan. And photo decomposition, which of course is something we're concerned about here. I took just 5 of the largest groups of herbicides that we use here to go through this real briefly. Solubility with the dinitroanones, Treflan, Prol, Balan is low. Volatility is low. Adsorption is high. That's why we have to normally incorporate Treflan and Balan. Microbial and chemical degradation is moderate, and photo decomposition is moderate, even here with our bright sunlight. The sulfonylureas, solubility is variable, volatility is low, adsorption is low, chemical and microbial breakdown is moderate, and photo decomposition is moderate. You know, I think I'm probably going through this real fast. I want to save time, so let me just kind of skip the last ones of these, because I think you know a lot of these things from experience. Lastly, environmental factors that affect herbicide persistence: soil moisture, temperature, and sunlight. And these are all extreme here. These are the reason why a lot of herbicides just do not persist very long here. Soil moisture, of course, we get very little water, rainfall here, but we irrigate, and we irrigate a lot. Water accelerates the microbial and chemical reactions that break down the herbicide. And this is just another slide to say the same thing I just did. Irrigation, we put on a lot of water. These are consumptive uses. Of alfalfa, for instance, 74 inches, cotton 42, and vegetables 10 to 20. But we actually put a lot more water than this on to account for leaching, evapotranspiration, inefficiency, and a host of other things. So we're putting on an awful lot of water. Sunlight. I don't really have to harp on this for very long. We all know that live here in Arizona this time of year. the there's 305 sunny days a year in Yuma. To compare this, the average daily temperature or average annual temperature in Yuma, Arizona is 73 degrees. Nationwide, it's 52 degrees. So we have considerably more sunlight here than they do in most places. And that's the end. If you have any questions, Robert described, just send them to me and I'll answer them in the chat. Thank you very much.